The information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into account your personal situation.
To make sure you get the most out of wealth, wine and wisdom, folks, please follow the house rules. Don't be a wallflower, get involved in the chat and enjoy this episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. Benton.
Witten, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, my friend.
Friday.
Good to see you. Glad you're here, mate. Might want to check that microphone, make sure you got the right one. But welcome along, folks. I see a few of you on the live already, which is great to have you here. Once again, on Wealth, Wine and Wisdom on a Friday afternoon, commonly known to those who know us well as Drunk and Disorderly, but we try and keep it above board when it comes to Friday afternoons and a bit of a debrief of what has been happening throughout the week, folks. So a big hello and give us a shout out in the chat if you're on live now. We've got a few of the regulars here. Show me the money, indeed. Good to have you on. Honor. Jeff's in the house as well. Afternoon, Jeff. Afternoon. There you go. Rosie's in as well. So great to have you here, folks. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Andy is down there on the Mornington Peninsula, and he's got the children out the back trying to peddle his internet to go fast enough.
It's not working. It's not working. It's a bit wild and woolly down here at the moment, though, mate. There's a bit of weather happening, so maybe that's playing a little bit of a part in it, but hopefully it holds together for tonight.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Well, great to have you all here, folks. Thank you for joining. Andy, why don't we tell everyone who doesn't know, who's joining us maybe for the first time, what this thing's all about. Folks, we've been in our respective industries for well over 20 years. I think I'm coming up to 25 years now. Andy might be the same. No, I know we don't look that old, do we?
No. No, this grey hair is a rinse. Make me look distinguished.
But about 10 years ago, Andy and I met through a good friend of ours, Kerwin Ray, and we decided that we would do some things together to help our respective communities, property investors and business owners alike. And when we started to share what we knew about our worlds and helped our community in tandem, it became quite obvious that we would be more impactful if we joined forces and added value in significant ways. So for many years now, we've been doing that with property investors and business owners. And of recent times, in the last 5 years, Andy and I have joined forces and created some education and some content that helps property investors and business owners. One of those things is what you're joining us on today, folks. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, Friday afternoon, came out of the COVID shutdown, the COVID meltdown, the COVID malarkey. Property investors, business owners didn't know what was coming. No one knew what was coming. Andy and I thought, well, we might have to debrief each other every Friday. We had a couple of wines doing so, and then we said, holy shit, we should be telling our community this stuff because there's some things that we know that everyone should know. Hence, after one or two wines, probably the first one was probably the roughest one. If you go back and have a look, you might be able to see it. But literally, we went live and said, hey, folks, there's lots you need to know about navigating these times. And it was well received, and you guys supported us. Let us know that it was useful, it was helpful, and from that point on, we went on and did a couple of hundred episodes of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. Andy and I decided we would have a break, let our livers recover for a little while, and we're back for the second series. Would you call it a series? Series of episodes. Anyway, there you go.
A saga, maybe.
Yeah, the saga. Anyway, there you go. So we have a bit of a drink, whatever it is, folks. If it's a cup of tea, juice, wine, or a gin, like Chris has got in hand today, we catch up on Friday and do a bit of a debrief. There are a number of forces in the world when it comes to investing and creating wealth and business that, quite unfortunately, Andy, folks listening in, aren't necessarily on your side when it comes to creating that wealth, but more importantly, keeping that wealth. And Andy and I like to shine a light on what's going on, but also offer some solutions to that too. So that's what we're up to, folks. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate you being here. Andy, did I miss anything? Usually you've got a little bit of a GPT script, which is pretty sweet, but I thought I'd give it a shot today ad hoc.
I thought you did pretty well there, mate. Artificial intelligence can eat its heart out, mate. As long as Witten's in the world, that's all the world needs.
Well, listen, team, we usually kick off the show with a few different categories of what we're up to. So we might have a little look at what's going on out there and see if there's some information, some things we can share about decanting the week. So hang around, strap yourself in, and we'll get on with the show. Andy, so what I thought I might do is do a little bit of a debrief on a bit of market update. We did this in the first show a few weeks ago, and I thought we might check in. ANZ has released some of its forecasts for the property world. Sometimes they're on the mark, sometimes they're off the mark. But I tell you what, team, if you have a look at some of the amazing outcomes for some of the cities when it comes across the years, it's an interesting one. But let's look into the future. We're looking at the 2025 forecast. All of the markets are looking at a little bit of a positive growth. But the one we're looking at, eyeballing right now, folks, is really 2026. And some interesting numbers there, Andy. And, one thing that I think a lot of people are surprised about, to be honest, we talk about this all the time, is good old Melbourne. Melbourne has had a bit of a kick in the guts over COVID times and probably performed the worst over that 3-year period when it comes to the general market, which includes houses and apartments. Any market that has a negative, if it's got some fundamentals underlying economically, it does make a comeback. Right now, Melbourne's got a very affordable market when it comes to housing. It's got some headwinds when it comes to its politicians and some of its behaviour down there, but that's not forever. That changes. The opportunity right now is that Melbourne's a value market. You can buy better than you can buy in the other cities, but that doesn't take away from the other cities giving it a good nudge. Certainly Brisbane and Sydney looking pretty strong. Everyone's still pretty bullish about Adelaide and Perth. So, the rest of them, to be honest, folks, I wouldn't go anywhere near Hobart or Darwin. But, for me, the world of property is really about those 5 major cities. Now, it looks like Fenton's disappeared on us, folks, so we'll just have to roll with the show. I might be a little bit of hand solo here when it comes to the show, but hopefully I won't be by myself for too long. I'm sure Andy will pop back in a minute, but we'll see how we go. So those markets, folks, chipping away. There's the forecast. What is coming on into the future? We shall all participate in that market if we can. That's for sure. Afternoon, Donna. Good to have you here. But certainly the market that is performing and everyone is satisfied with, or let's say enjoying the results of the market, is that Brisbane market right now when it comes to the results right this moment in time. It's the winner, folks. It's the winner. It's the golden child. And if you've got property up there, then you're going to get a nice outcome in those markets. But what else is happening? Listen, right now, folks, in other news, let's say that in other news, the government is doing something that I think is going to, let's say, not necessarily make things better when it comes to the property market. Now, if you own real estate, it's going to benefit us. Tell us in the chat, what do you think when the government messes with the property markets? And what I would do is artificially puts money into those markets. It's artificially putting money into those markets. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Looks like he might be back. Fenton. There you go. Oh, you're back, mate. Well, everyone missed you, but I soldiered on. But here's what. Yeah, there you go, mate. The Toowong market's been charging along. Brisbane is the golden child at the moment. Brisbane and Perth, Andy. But as they sort of maybe slow down a little bit because the prices rise, then we're probably going to get a little bit of resistance in the market just because the pricing gets a bit up there.
Well, what people don't understand is that typically in times of high inflation on assets is that it's the rising tide. It creates a new watermark of where it gets to, and then everything catches up to it. Very seldom does it fall further than what it's gone up to in the past.
Well, that's it. And listen, this is fabulous. Actually, I wouldn't say fabulous, but listen, I think it's a bit of lunacy, but it is what it is. The government now is actually, the government's not underwriting it. Who is, folks? This is the thing that I'm going to have a little rant about in a moment. This is a rant for me. Strap yourselves in. Listen, as of October 1st, 2025, increased property caps, no income caps at all, 5% deposit and no LMI. What does that mean? That is the first home buyer guarantee scheme, supposedly secured by the government, Andy. Supposedly secured by the government. Mm-hmm. But, folks, are the government securing it? Who the hell is securing this? The current property price caps.
I know the answer, Mr. Whitten. I know the answer.
All right, chuck it in the chat, folks. Who's actually securing this? New South Wales, Andy. First home buyer. This is mind-blowing. First home buyer. They're saying, oh, listen, we need to increase the caps because we need to put it to 1.5 million. This is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Like a minute ago, it was 650. It was 650. Yep, you're dead right, folks. This is what the Australian public need to understand, for crying out loud. Wake up, folks. Wake up. The taxpayer is underwriting. Now, yep, it's like printing money. You're dead right. We are, Luke. We are. Now, this is the thing. Now, don't take this the wrong way, folks, but for crying out loud, I actually don't think these people can afford to have these houses. Andy, what happened? I can't remember the name of this thing. It happened a little while ago when institutions gave people loans that they couldn't afford. What was it called again?
They were called ninja loans.
What was it called? Ninja loans. And what did it cause, Andy? I can't remember what it caused.
I think it was a minor disturbance in the force, wasn't it? It was a minor disturbance in the force. I think most of us have forgotten about it, Jace, because it happened over 10 years ago. So
what was it, folks? What happened over 10 years ago when the governments got involved and they gave money to people who couldn't afford it, and then underwrote it with taxpayers' money? I can't remember what it was. Actually, yeah.
There's been a few films about it. It's I think The Big Short, The Big Squeeze, The Big Something, and they're about to make a big something again.
The big fuck up. I tell you what. Well, there you go. It was a GFC.
Just a little hiccup. The GFC.
Global financial crisis. Now, this is lunacy, right? This is the lunacy. Like 1.5 million for a first home buy. They were subprime loans. You did right, Jeff. Trying to make a bit of light out of something that's actually serious. Here's the drill, right? We're going to give these people loans. The home guarantee scheme is not a physical security like a mortgage on a property, folks. Check this out. This is what I want you to see, right? This is the part that everyone needs to understand what's going on. You know, those who go, oh, yeah, it's wonderful. The government's helping first home buyers. No, they're not. We are. Our taxes, which they're going to jam us for, right? There you go. It's typical 5%. The government guarantees essentially covers. Here's a bit more explained.
What does history tell us, Jace? Every time they've done these little slim shaky maneuvers, like extra grants to get into the house, they've discounted, they've taken off stamp duty, they've done all of these things before, and even in the productivity commission that they had leading up to the productivity commission, they admitted that these measures do what, team, to housing prices? Is it fuck all, or is it they adjust them instantaneously? The market almost instantaneously rises to the level of the discount.
Yeah.
So they're making them more expensive, Jace. They've just
increased
the value of our houses that we've already got, which is a happy thing for us, but not so good for your average Joe who doesn't have a house.
If you're in the market, then that's how it works. So, you know, here's what happens. The first home buyers going to end up with massive mortgages. They're not fixing supply. They're not fixing supply, which they need to bloody fix. They're just saying, well, you know, let's give these people loans. You know, they're basically admitting, folks, that's right. It inflates house prices. Exactly. Right. That's what happens. Now, I'm not chipping anyone who wants to try and buy a house. I mean, if they can afford it, fabulous. Right. But, you know, when does it come down to let's make the Australian taxpayer underwrite people who maybe can't afford a house, and we'll give them a 1.5 million loan to get into their first home? You know, that seems insane to me. It just seems insane that it's not dealing with the issue that we have when it comes to the marketplace. So, Andy, that's my piece to kick off today.
Let's just summarize what's happening in the market, Jace, because to me, I'm a bit of an idiot, Jace. I grew up dyslexic and couldn't spell, still can't. Sometimes my math is a little bit off. So I need people to sort of break this down for me. So maybe you can help me. Not enough houses. Not enough land. No, we've got enough land, don't we? Not enough places being developed, and not enough land being released for development. So I would have thought that would have been where they started. But what they're doing is they're going, there's not enough houses, so we'll tax houses that are empty. There's not enough rooms, so we'll tax rooms that are empty. There's not enough people buying houses, so we'll make them easier to get into, which increases the cost of houses. And all of that with immigration going gangbusters, and we need more houses, is going to produce more houses. Is that, it doesn't seem like that adds up.
I'm sure that makes perfect sense to a politician, because you know what? All they're doing, folks, is buying votes for the next election. This is a sad state of affairs, right? It's always a supply issue. You're dead right, Alan. Now, supply, you don't increase supply by making it easier for people to borrow money to buy these houses, folks, right? So that's only one piece of the puzzle. And to be quite frank, it's quite loony how it's being done, because we won't supply some houses. We won't increase supply, which keeps prices down. This is the thing, right? You know, if you increase supply, it slows the growth of property prices, and sometimes you can make it cheaper. So property prices on average go backwards for a little while. That's quite a normal part of the property game. But no, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're going to sell our properties, Andy and folks, to their mates in different schemes. And one of those schemes, folks, actually, I was going to keep this one for a second, but I might jump to it, Andy, and then I'll throw back to you while I'm on a bit of a roll with my rant here. But all right. So the challenge is they're going to try and add satisfaction to the marketplace by helping young people borrow $1.5 million. And you and me, Andy, and the folks listening in are going to underwrite that loan. What fucking lunacy. You know, no bank would lend that money, but you know what? We will, We will, and we don't care. Like
That's probably what happened, Jace. They went to the banks and said, "Will you lend the money?" And they said, "Fuck off."
They're like,
Not
piss
a million
off.
years.
Like, that's brain dead. Oh, we'll do it then. But yeah, you don't have any money. Yeah, we do. The taxpayers will pay. Let's go for that. Anyway,
We'll
there you go, folks.
Insurance scheme.
We'll underwrite it. The banks will lend it, but the insurers didn't insure the loan. Sorry, I'm going to be accurate on my commentary. The insurers said, piss off. And the bank's like, we'll lend anyone money as long as it's insured. And the government said, all right, we'll make the taxpayer insure that. Don't worry about that. We got you back. All right. One way or another, we'll make the taxpayer pay. Like, there you go.
But anyway, know they're not looking. We know that they're not looking at what we're doing with the money, so we'll spend it to insure you. Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Good
but
call.
this is an opinion piece here, right? For me, that other thing was just pure fact, right, folks? That was pure fact. That's what's going on. Open your eyes, vote for the right people who aren't morons. That's what I say. Actually, it's slim pickings in that. I'm sorry, but hopefully someone fucking
for the less moronic.
Yeah, exactly. But listen, how's this bullshit? Two pieces of information or two pieces of news articles all at the same time. Australia's too small, Andy, for the $200 billion global super fund looking for property for their investments. Now, and you know what are they going to do? Well, they're going to go overseas. Well, hang on. What the fuck is going on here? Australia needs property like now, but, super funds are going to take their $200 billion and go overseas. That doesn't make any sense to me. This is loony. Why is one of the best, stores of cash in the world, our super industry, or the money going into our super funds, and then they're going to piss off overseas and buy overseas real estate with it? That makes no sense to me. But on the flip side, overseas investors, they're like, Australian housing is amazing. We're going to come to Australia and instead of the US. And there's a company called Qualitas, which is massive, right? Massive investor company, right? But do you know why, folks? What are they after? They're after the best scam in Australian history when it comes to giving away our assets, folks. I'm making a big call here, Andy. Within 10 years, we in the past, politicians have said, how do we sell the Darwin port to, overseas interests? How do we sell our farming land to overseas interest to secure our food? Those things shouldn't happen. But you know what? Here's what's going to happen. We're going to sell residential housing to overseas interest, big investors, right? It's irresponsible. It's lunacy, folks. The super funds are pissing off overseas to go and, build housing and put their money in Europe, where we've got a housing shortage. That's lunacy. That is. And then, but you know what? We'll open up Australia's developing for rent to build to rent. We'll give them land tax concessions. We'll give them cheap money. We'll give them more depreciation, and we'll give them other benefits that local Australians don't get. Now, that I think is disgusting.
It's theft.
It doesn't add any value. But here's the thing. There's a lot of young people who think, oh, this is great. This is great. Tell me in the chat, folks. Hopefully you're stuck with me in through my rant here. But tell me in the chat, when you hear the words build to rent, what type of quality, what type of property stock do you think that delivers to the market, or you think it's going to deliver? Because the young people of Australia think it's delivering a certain type of rental to the market, right?
So while you're writing that down, let's just summarize what you've gone through there, Jay. So you basically said that you've got a housing crisis, but housing prices are going bananas. We need to build houses, but instead of incentivizing Australian developers and Australian companies to build houses, what we need to do is we need to incentivize and give offshore companies who have got nothing to do with Australia the ability to buy Australian land, buy Australian property, and have all the concessions that an Australian company couldn't, because overseas companies can build houses better in Australia than Australian companies can. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right. And when they make a profit, I'm pretty sure
we don't need the money, Jace. We don't need the money. Like,
Yeah.
let's give it to America. They need the money. We don't need the money in Australia. We're only $1 trillion in debt.
Well,
I mean, that's tuppence.
well,
We should
here's
be
exactly.
charitable, Witten. You're
Well,
too greedy, mate. You want too much for Australia. I mean,
give,
we're
give
only $1 trillion and we're only 25 million people, 26 million people. We should give our
27
money
million
away.
these days. Yep, yep. Well,
We
here's
should.
the thing. This is exactly what I was saying. Everybody thinks that build to rent is cheap, basic bedding, basic housing, budget housing, rubbish property, basic builds. Reminds me of the old affordable housing program.
Well, hang on, Jason.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Let me ask a question on that, because if that's what, let me just put my fund manager hat on, right? Fund manager being an investment company from offshore. You want me to come to Australia and build shit houses in shit places so that I can have a shit return, in return for giving me discounts. That's what it sounds like.
That's what it does sound like, right?
As an investment manager, I would say, no, I want to build good property that goes up astronomically in value so that my investors can make a return.
Well, this is the thing, Andy. And thanks for playing along, folks at home, because what you think build to rent is absolutely not what they're building. They're not building cheap. They're not building budget. They're not building rubbish. And they're not building basic housing at all. Folks, they are in premium locations. The properties are being built in premium locations. Now, let's say 200 or 300 properties. There's 39,000 apartments coming to market, right? Coming to market right now, right? For rent only. That's 39,000 properties, folks. For 20 years will not be available for Australians to buy. Andy, 20 years of supply, 39,000. That's right now 2 years. You compound that over the next 10 years, and for the next 20 years, those properties now are in that structure with those tax advantages, right? So it's not forever, those tax advantages, but it's for 20 years, right? So they keep them for 20 years. But guess what? Check this out. This young person was like, what? The cheapest one, which is a 1-bedroom apartment in this building, 1-bedroom apartment in Melbourne, right? There we go. 1-bedroom apartment, folks. Guess what its asking rent is? $720 a week.
Sorry, say that again, Witten. $220 a week, was it?
700. A 1-bedroom apartment, folks. And guess what? There's a gym in this building. There's an infrared sauna. There's a plunge pool. There's there you go. Look, this is it. That's what I'm saying, Luke. That's not affordable housing. That's not adding any value to the market, Andy, folks. It is ludicrous. And most Australians are asleep at the wheel on this one. They're asleep at the wheel. 39,000 properties being constructed by an overseas company that are going to charge ludicrous rents on properties that are in premium locations, and they will not be available to Australians to buy for 20 years.
Prime real, and then when you can buy it, geez, can you imagine the asking price?
You think about that, and guess what? They will be taking their money offshore, because I'm going to throw to you, Andy, because I know you've got something when it comes to the companies that pay tax and don't tax. They'll be structured in a way that, talk about capital gains or talk about tax, make billions of dollars and pay no tax in Australia. It's a scam, folks. It's an absolute fucking scam. I'm pissed off with this bullshit because it's not helping. Two of the biggest things that the government's putting together, which is this stupid fucking underwriting of 5% for first-time buyers, a $1.5 million property that you and I as taxpayers underwrite. It's bullshit. And then giving away all of the premium locations and benefits to overseas companies to lock away property supply for 20 years, charge exorbitant rents, insane rents. And what does Australia get for it? Fuck all. And they've given them discounts on tax deductions, land tax, and whatever as well. It's a joke. I think I should stop, Andy, because I'm a bit
no,
wound up.
that's it. So we'll have an advertised break right now. So the advertising break is welcome to Witten and Fenton. We're travelling to a different country to set up a property development company in order to buy Australian land and rent it out to Australian investors for an obscene profit for an obscene amount of time. If you'd like to come and live in a different country and make stupid amounts of money in virtually tax-free, join us on our study tour to Dubai in September 2026. That's tax-free property from a tax-free nation so that you can steal land and rent that out at obscene prices and make obscene amount of money while other people in the same country don't have the same rights. Sounds like a great study tour to me. Come on for the journey. That's it from our sponsors, Jace. Dubai tax-free
the Australian
zone.
government. The Australian
it's obscene.
Fucking hell.
So,
Jesus. Yeah.
Look, it's interesting.
When are
we
Jeff
leaving?
said he's in. When are we leaving? But that's not all, folks. We'll let you get away with paying no land tax. Oh, Jesus.
Well,
anyway,
look, it is.
I can only laugh because it's actually not funny. That's all I can do is laugh. It's lunacy.
Well, it's the ability that the politicians have now to pull the wool over our eyes and believe that we're swallowing this stuff, which is absolute garbage. And look, this team, this isn't new. Like Jason and I were talking about this. This thing was cooked up in COVID. I think some of the worst, most disgusting dishes were cooked up in COVID, and we unraveled this. I think it was late 2019 when we first saw it come on the cards, and we're like, "Oh, this is really interesting." Yeah. And ultimately, it's playing out exactly how we thought. Because here's the thing: capitalism is very easy to read. An offshore investment company like a BlackRock are not going to invest in the betterment of Australia. No, they invest for a profit. So if you're going to do build to rent and you're going to give subsidies, they are going to try and maximize their return, and they're extraordinarily good at it. And anybody who believes any different needs their fucking head read, because that's what those businesses do. Yep. And the idea that giving them tax incentives and not giving Australians equal tax incentives, I think is theft, and I think it's obnoxious. So there's the flip side of this as well, Jace, is that, there's this idea that we can tax this country out of our current debt. Not going to happen. Promise you, I guarantee you, it's a promise on my side. And if I'm wrong, I've left the country already. You're not going to be able to hold me, right? But ultimately, in order to be able to get out of times like this, where we've got reasonable amounts of debt, you 100% need to increase productivity, decrease taxes, increase incentives, not by way of here's some dollars that you can have. I might need to flip my screen. Oh, thanks, Jace. Not via dollars, like here's some handouts and some gifts. No, here's some subsidies to Australian businesses. So the exact opposite of what Jace was talking about with subsidising offshore companies to build in Australia. How's about you subsidise onshore companies to build in Australia? Because then Australians will build and Australians will make the money, and Australians will pay Australian workers and payroll tax and PAYG and super and all of these things, and the money stays in the country. Because what this article, and this article's is a little bit dated now, but I've got some figures that I'm going to run through. But this is what happens when you start to try and tax big industry in a big way. They move. That's it. They move. They pack up shop, they move their headquarters, they re-domicile. So let's have a little bit of a look at some of the top tax-paying companies in Australia. And Jace, if you've got a calculator ready, I reckon we should do a little bit of a percent on some of these.
All right. I'll be quick on the ready.
So maybe just do Rio Tinto and just have a look at tax payable versus total income, and then maybe go to BHP Iron Ore at the bottom. So team Rio Tinto, total income, $47 billion that was made. I think that's, that's a million. $47 billion that was made, $20 billion worth of taxable income, and there was $5.7 billion worth of tax payable in Australia. Jace will butt in a moment and tell us what the percentage based on their total income was. So these are good tax-paying citizens in Australia. And listen, we're all good.
Close enough to 9% tax payable against total income. 9%.
And to be fair, that's not too bad, Jace.
Yep.
I reckon that's a roundabout on the money, somewhere around roundabout on the money. That wouldn't include GST. This would be taxable income on company tax. I reckon that's a roundabout right. Does that feel right to you? Feels right to me.
Yeah, and that's about right. I mean, these companies, they've got some offsets and bits and pieces, but 5 billion, 5.7 billion in tax is nothing to be sneezed about. They're paying a couple of bucks. I think there could be a better treatment of some of the royalties and some of the resources that we have. But at the end of the day, these companies are paying, they're a significant amount of, their way in taxes by the look of it. So, that's good. That's good. But what happens when you can...
This one's an interesting one, actually. National Australia Bank, 50 billion, 1.6. What's that as a percentage, Jace? That's one that's sort of...
If you go 2 billion, well, you think the banks are probably... The Westpac's not too much different at the top there. CommBank, coming in good. So they're probably navigating around that 4 or 5% by the look of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's starting to get a bit skinny, team. And I'm going to tell you how they do this in a moment. Now, let's have a look at the 100 largest companies in Australia that paid no corporate tax in 2023. All right, so we've got Qantas. They were in the papers more recently. Total of 19 billion. Taxable income, 400 million, paid no tax.
Zero tax. What, hang on,
zero.
Andy? They made $19 billion and paid zero tax. What?
Well, mate, they've done exactly what I'd do. They've done exactly what I do. AGL, right, team? So let's jump on a little bit of a soapbox here for a moment, because they're giving out ridiculous subsidies when it comes to power and gas. And gas and power are some of the big headline winners. We're going to make energy cheaper in Australia. Well, you've done fucking very little to do that, but you've done an amazing job at making AGL very, very profitable. $13 billion, 44 million worth of taxable income, not a cent paid on that tax in Australia. Not a brass razoo that they pay. Then you've got Chevron, which is Australia Postal Corporation, QBE Insurance. The list goes on.
No, boo, like this.
So what is it, team? Like, whack it in the chat. Why do you think these companies are paying no tax over here? And why do you
pull the grease?
They pull the grease. Well, here's the thing. Kerry Packer said it in the House of Reps inquiry in 1991. He said, in dealing with offshore companies and changing the rules every 5 minutes, other than the fact that every time you change a law, it takes somebody's rights away, and the people's whose lives you're pissing up against the wall don't thank you for it. Well, now the people whose lives are getting pissed up against the wall have no idea that this is what's happening. But the idea is that foreign companies and even domestic companies, if you make it too complex, if you make it too anti-competitive when it comes to tax regimes and compliance regimes, well, they will hold their core entities offshore. And so our money for Qantas, and I don't know exactly for these entities where they're going, they will have headquarters in Ireland. They will have headquarters in Hong Kong. They will have headquarters in Singapore. They will have headquarters in Dubai. Now, team, if you don't believe me that this stuff happens and is happening en masse, all we need to do is actually have a look at some of the more recent statistics that we went through in the last Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, which was how many company directors are actually leaving the UK. Now, there's more money flying out of the UK right now than there's ever been before. I reckon the Crusades have nothing on this, right? It's flying out, and it's going to lower tax domiciled countries. Because here's the thing. If you make it anti-competitive, or if you make it too hard to work or too hard to exist in a country, they will go somewhere else.
When people have money, they've got the ability to choose to trade somewhere else, like in domicile. So these companies, Andy, folks, these companies are shifting their headquarters, shifting a lot of their money, their infrastructure to places that are attractive. And why wouldn't you? I mean, what do you get for it, Andy? You get a kick in the fucking guts. You know, you start up a company here in Australia and you go, well, yeah, I'll pay my fair share of corporate tax. That's fine. But then, Andy, do you know what? What happens, folks? Put it in the chat. What happens when you become successful and you now are turning over a bit more, Andy? What do? Do they give you a reward? Do they say, well done, you employ more people, Andy? What do they do, folks? Put it in the chat. I just now employ 100 people. So guess what they've done? Guess what? Guess what? Thank you, Jason and his team got when they became successful, and fucking hard-won success when it came to our business. Guess what the state governments did? You know, not only did I have to pay my share of income tax when it came to the business that I was running, but you know what? They said, well done, Jason. Thanks very much. They take more. Exactly, Jules. Thanks for being successful, Jace. Thanks for being successful, Andy. Thanks for being successful, Jules. They up the taxes. That's right. Not only do, boom, exactly, Jeff. They jammed me with payroll tax. Last year alone, I paid $500,000 in payroll tax.
So let's just
on top of my bloody company tax and top of my personal tax. It's bullshit.
Let's unpack this a little bit, Jace, because some people may kind of go payroll tax, don't understand it. And I'll take this summer and I'll show everyone here how you can start to navigate these tax conversations, even at whatever level you're at. And it translates to big business as well. But payroll tax, right? Payroll tax, we'll jump to that in a minute. Payroll tax is a tax that, depending on which state you are in Australia, when you hire enough employees, and it's around about $1 million, right? It's between 800 and 1.2, depending on what state you're in. So once you've hired $1 million and you're paying $1 million worth of salary, and team, in today's world, that's not a lot. That's not a lot of money. That gets eaten up pretty quick. Once you start to pay,
that's on average 10 people, Andy. 10 good people, 100 grand. Yeah. There you go. Yep.
Which is what, maybe, a couple of million business, maybe 2 million to a $4 million business, 4 million on the high side, right? Now, anybody who's been in business knows that that's a really tough time in business. The first million is definitely the hardest, but then that million to 10 million is an extraordinarily challenging game. And one of the reasons it's so challenging is that as soon as you get to a point where you can start to reinvest your profits, and most business owners, I don't care whether you believe me or not, it's a fucking fact for most of it, right? Most business owners reinvest in their business to make their business bigger, to achieve more of what they're trying to do, which is make a difference, right? That's how business works. But as soon as you start to get enough money to reinvest, the government go, well, now you're paying $1 million in salaries. We're going to put 5%, give or take, 0.5%. I think it's about 4.2% to 5.5%. We're going to, on everything, we're going to charge you 5% now on everything. So on $1 million, if you're paying $1 million worth of wages, when you tick over to 101,
on the top,
there's a $50,000 bill that gets sent your way. Now,
so guess what, Andy?
That's another team member.
You start at 25% taxes, you get successful, and what do? They add payroll tax and up to 5% extra. But guess what? You get more successful, and let's say you grow your business and you add massive value and wealth to your team and your customers and the economy. Guess what? What's the next reward when you hit 50 million, folks? As a business in Australia, what's the next reward? What do they say? How do they say thank you? How do they say thank you to Australian businesses? Guess what? No, like, oh, thanks. Well done. Maybe we'll. Yep. Guess what they do? They jam you with another 5% tax in this country, folks.
And let's
now
understand
they make it 30%
how big,
instead of 25.
Let's understand how big that is. Right, that as far as a jump is a 25% increase in tax. 25% increase.
Well, that's it, and this is the thing. Now, Victoria wins a lot of these medals, Andy, and not for great reasons. The highest payroll tax in Australia, and also they charge a mental health surcharge on top of everyone I employ in Victoria as well.
Yeah, because they locked us up.
Because
like
they locked them down.
caged animals for
Yeah.
longer than any other place in the world. And then they want to give Dan a statue. I reckon he deserves a statue. I reckon the birds need somewhere to shit forever. I honestly do.
You're dead right about that. They need somewhere to take a poo. But listen, here's the drill. This is the thing. 12 countries, no capital gains tax. And this is the stuff, right? This is when you think about this, you go, okay, what's capital gain tax? Everyone knows that drill. Well, here's a list of 12 countries with no capital gains tax, folks. And you'll be surprised at which countries these are. Bahrain, Andy, you might want to live there. Bahamas, hey, that's not bad.
Oh, Tom, if it's good enough for Tom Cruise, it's good enough for me.
There you go. Arab Emirates. But there's some in here. Cayman Islands. Yeah, okay. Monaco. That's a pretty cool place.
Do you remember the Monaco bars, Jace? They were beautiful. like I used to love them when I was a kid.
Barbados. We could do that. Belize. But this is Isle of Man. Some of these places you might not want to live. But guess what? New Zealand. It's only over the road.
Did you say it's a place you wouldn't want to live?
No, I'll live in New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, I'll go to New Zealand.
Yeah, absolutely. They've done a few things that aren't so great. Jersey, Switzerland. Guess what?
Is that where the Jersey boys are from?
I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
No, but Switzerland.
Now they're smart cats. The Swiss.
Yeah.
Not only do they make great watches, they make a great economy.
But Singapore, one of the best economies in the world, folks. Singapore,
probably one of the strongest in the Southern Hemisphere. Yep.
Every single citizen in Singapore receives a return each year from their sovereign fund. They have so much return based on the taxes that they collect and the investments that the government makes on behalf of the country. Every citizen receives an income from it, folks. Imagine that.
A dividend.
They receive a dividend from their taxes. Imagine that. That's what's possible. We don't even realize what's possible. There's other countries in the world like looking at us going, what's wrong with these people? Why are they smashing their citizens and like depressing them? Because you know what? This is the thing. This is the challenge, right? The government is so short-term thinking, and all they want to do is buy the next votes. They want to buy the next election. And you know what? Young people, Labor's going after young people. Now, I don't think Liberals done a very good job, and nor the rest of them. But Labor's going after young people, and they're eating it up, folks. They're eating it up. They're thinking, yep, the rich people are to blame. The baby boomers are to blame because they've got all the equity, and let's take it from them. We're in, right? So it's bullshit. But it's happening, and you got to navigate these things, right? So
I was watching something with John Howard the other day, and it's probably not a great way to start, right? Because like him or hate him, I think that there is some very different ways that politicians of the past used to think in comparison to politicians of today. And I loved what he had to say about young people. And it went something like this. Australia should be a place where if you give it a crack and if you give it a fair go, you should be able to make a lot of money. And that's the world that we promote. And we also promote that for people who want to come and live here, but we don't promote it for people who want to come and live here and change how we operate. That's not on the cards because we're Australian. But we want to attract people who want to be successful because that's what creates a successful economy, and that's what creates, money for us all to live and prosperity. And then he said the smart part, which I really thought was like, so if you're young today, imagine a world where it's impossible for you to become successful because you get taxed so heavily and you're giving constantly back into a system that doesn't spend the money very well, and that the politicians are the only ones who receive the fruit of your labor, and you can never become successful. Just imagine a future like that. You can be as smart, you can be as entrepreneurial as what you want, but you will never be able to be successful in Australia because the laws don't support you. Now, if that's what you want to vote for, then by all means go for it. But if you want a country where people are able to give it a crack, able to be successful, and then able to become wealthy and free from the government, right? Free. And I'm just talking about enough money so that you don't have to rely on the government. I'm not talking rich. I'm just talking enough money so you can live on your terms. If you want to be able to achieve that, then be very, very careful about how you look at people who have, because there's the bullshit that's out there, mate. I remember when I was fucking young, right? And my dad took me in his car on a Saturday on the way to the cricket nets, and we'd stop past 3 or 4 clients on the way there. It might be 4 hours before we'd even get to the cricket nets. This was shortly after a major recession that Australia had. And this was after 18% interest rates, even 20% interest rates on a property. And if you think that these people in some way, shape, or form haven't earned where they've got to in life, then you need your fucking heads read, and you also need to have a good look at what your future is going to be like. Because ultimately, if we don't start to pave way and embrace business success, embrace personal success, and if we want to tax the living daylights out of it, then we're in a very, very bleak future.
Well, it's an interesting one. You know, this is the thing, and the other day you were showing one of your favourite slides in our show, mate, which is the treasurer on his little on his tax token. But you know, guess what, folks? Guess how many jobs, and guess how many businesses that our treasurer, who's making decisions on there he is. Guess how many jobs this bloke here has had. Guess how many jobs he's had, Andy, in the real world. And guess how many businesses he started?
Would the answer? I know, Mr. Whitten.
Hang on. Put it in there, folks. Has this guy worked for anyone in real life, folks? This guy
in real life, does that mean on Zoom?
This guy here, has he ever worked in a real business for real people ever? All right, tell me how many businesses he worked for. Right, tell me how many businesses he started. This guy here is making financial decisions. Right, for financial decisions for 27 million people, right? And the other day,
Jace, I know where I'd start to look for his previous employment records. I'd be looking in the liquidation administration stack that they're going through at the moment.
Exactly. Well, I saw the other day, and this is what I saw on. I reported that he went to uni, and then he started working in politics.
Oh, hang on, that's university on the right.
And he started working in politics. He's never had a job outside of politics, and doesn't. It's lunacy. It's lunacy. These are the people that end up running our countries, Andy. Which is crazy. None and none. So there you go. A true political champion. Exactly. So how do these people, you know, have never been in real life, which is, you know, working for a small business, or, you know, actually earning a wage that's not underwritten by, you know, government bureaucracy and protectionism, you know, is lunacy. Anyway, but again, I'll finish here, Andy, and I'm going to
they come up with some good policies, mate.
They
that's Tim Ferriss, and that's for business owners, but we might talk about that one next week. Let's increase productivity by decreasing the amount of days that we work. That's a cracker idea.
Again, that is vote buying, right? That's vote buying, Andy. That's what that is. Like this is vote buying stuff, folks.
Buys votes.
Yep. And listen, I'm a massive fan. Like, I've got heaps of team who work from home. And I think it's fantastic for them, and whatever. But it should be up to the business and the employee to work out the plan. It shouldn't be legislated. That's complete bullshit. If a business needs you to work from an office 5 days a week, that's what they need. If it's okay that you work from the office 2 days a week and then work from, you know, home 3 days a week, that's what they need. Why is the government overreaching in these things? You don't run my business. You don't know what I need. Keep your damn nose out of it and let me get on with it. It's hard enough as it is to succeed in Australia, you know, in just general market competition, and you pricks getting involved. It's a fucking joke.
And you should keep your mouth. And to the massive detriment of Australian business. And I wasn't going to bring this up, but I did find this, Jace. So this is a warning for all small to medium business owners out there right now. Go and read this article. But ultimately, you know, in my business, we do it. right? We have, and within Office 365 and different tracking software, if you've got team working remote, then you need to have systems and processes to make sure that they're working.
Yeah.
Right? If you can't see them in there, you need systems and processes to make sure that they're working. But then, and this is the lunacy of it, as you said, Jace, in Victoria, they're trying to mandate a 4-day work week, and they're also trying to mandate at least 2 days work from home. So they're trying to go, let's go 4 days, and so let's have 50% of your time that you're mandated to work from home. That's going to be fucking hard for plumbers, just by the by. But anyway, but if you work from home and you want to track whether your employees are actually working, well, you better be very, very careful, because we will smack you with a big stick if you do the wrong thing. And so here's the thing, team. You should have productivity tracking software. You should have all of these things within your business. It's part of internet surveillance. It's part of internet security and not biosecurity. What's it called? Cloud security, Jace. Not internet security. It's
privacy and all of that sort of stuff.
Privacy, all the stuff that we have to pay those dumb fees for insurances these days when it comes to IT and stuff like that. Yep. Like, team, we have to pay ridiculous amounts of insurance to make sure that your data is safe. But if, heaven forbid, we want to track and make sure that the team are doing the right thing, well, this article is a big eye opener, because this is a government institution or a government body that is then penalizing businesses, because the employees are going, oh, well, I didn't know that I was being made sure that I was actually doing my job. So if you have tracking software, which you should if you've got work from home people, to make sure that they are working, please make sure you chat with your HR, make sure that you chat with your lawyers or whoever's helping you with your contracts, and make sure that it is in your employee handbook, your employee contracts, and the terms and conditions part of the KPIs of people who work for you. Because otherwise, all of these things, and I know it's another compliance thing, team. I know, I'm sorry, but we just have to do it, right? We have to do it. But if you don't, and they find out, and they could go, oh, I never knew that. That's an invasion of my privacy. Well, your home is effectively now my office. If you're not turning up to the office in the home, I deserve as an employer to know, because I'm paying you for those hours. So it's a thin line. Be aware that it exists, and now work cover on top of it, so you can be guaranteed, if you don't stay on top of your contracts, that this could be a little bit of a sleeping thing that could really upset the apple cart at some point in time. So takeaway, business owner, with monitoring software, make sure it is in your contracts and your handbook, keep you safe, and make sure it's obvious to everybody. Like, so everybody knows it's just a part of it. It's like, remember the old timesheets, Jace? Do you remember them? You used to clock into work. You used to come in, you go chunk, and you clock in your timesheet, and then when you left work, you go chunk, and it would tag it. It's exactly the same thing, but now it's an internet thing. It's a technology thing. You just need to be very safe.
Yeah, listen, sometimes, Andy, we get a bit ranty about these things, and there are solutions, folks. What we want to make sure that we point out are the things that you got to keep an eye on. We believe that everyday Aussies deserve a lot better than they're getting, especially business owners, especially people who work hard for a living, and for every dollar that they scrape and earn, the government stick their grotty hand out one way or another. And then, how dare you have the hide to, rise above, just getting by and maybe become an investor, crikey, let's reach into their pockets as well. There are ways to navigate this in a much more effective way. And that's probably our point. We get a bit hot under the collar because we can see this stuff is really not fair. And
it's another cost too, Jace. And a lot of these costs go offshore. It's like, for God's sake, allow us to employ more Australians, produce more here, and do stuff that puts more money in the pockets of Australians and makes Australia a better place to live in, not fucking tax it into the eyeballs and make us pay for things that we don't need to have. It's insane.
No. So other than, voting a little bit better, well, sometimes it's a bit of slim pickings, no matter which way you slice it, folks. Andy and I have spent our time helping everyday Aussies navigate this a little bit better. So if you're a business or you've got some significant wealth, Andy runs what's called the Freedom Machine program, Wealth Masterclass. Scan that code right there, and you can register and come along and hang out with Andy for about an hour and a half, and he'll take you through a bit of a system that we've developed to navigate that. Game of 30 is what we call it, and can show you how to what we call navigate what's called a tax-free future lifestyle, which quite interestingly, if you know the rules, folks, you know the rules. They will change. We know that. But you can navigate and reduce your taxes going into the future. So if you're up for it, Andy runs them every week or every second week, depending on what's going on in the world of Andy's calendar. But come along, register, click on that link, or scan that link, and you can register for hanging out with Andy and
I'll show you in there, because we do. I'll show you a system that we use, and we'll do it on Wealth, Wine and Wisdom too at some point. I promised to do it this episode, but we ranted a little bit, got a bit hot under the collar.
We need a clock to keep us on track, Andy.
Yeah, we always go, have we got enough to talk about? And we're always building, and I've got a lot more. But ultimately can show you how to have conversations with your accountant in order to minimize your tax, or at least understand how to allocate that, which then goes to how you structure yourself. But it's the same at our level as what it is at the big corporation level. It's like personal super structures. That's how it works. You assess your personal tax position, you assess your personal superannuation position, and then you look to structures to minimize your tax. Those are the 3 steps: personal super structures. 1, 2, 3. That's what we need to follow. And if everybody followed this, everyone would be at least a little bit better off, and maybe a lot better off.
Yep, navigate that as we go along. So, folks, so great to have you here again this week. Fantastic. You keep showing up and supporting the show. We'll always show up and bring our best to the Friday afternoon debrief of the week. Yes, Andy.
Mr. Whitten, I do have some things to let everyone know, because next week I would love to talk about a whistleblower. And you would think, we won't show too much of it now, but I'd love to chat with you and share a little story about this whistleblower. This whistleblower is somebody who is blowing the whistle on the ATO and managed to find the wrath of the ATO. It's a story that every Australian should know about, because ultimately the whistleblower in the ATO is trying to make sure that the ATO is doing the right thing. And if they're doing the wrong thing, then maybe we should know about it. Yep. And Jace, it leads me to then perhaps the other side that we'll talk about next week is on the Productivity Commission. Now, it used to be, back when Kerry Packer did the House of Reps in 1991, that in these political zones, they were all televised. They were televised. So the Australian people knew what laws were happening, what fights were happening. And now, team, the last Productivity Commission.
They banned all the recording. Everyone
banned
out.
Mobile phones, banned recordings, banned anybody else in there. It's like, what are they talking about? And here's the thing: public servant, team, public.
We pay our taxes pay their wages. They work for us.
So should we not be entitled to know what conversations are going on behind closed doors when it comes 100%. To the economic prosperity? I get it when it's security of a nation, right? Like if they're going to talk about things that threaten our very existence, and maybe some military things that are sitting in there that nobody should know about, fair dues, right? Get that, right? But economics, tax, and the prosperity of a nation, I think we should be hearing every damn word that they have to say. And maybe we can find out a little bit more about that next week and shed some light on the things that weren't said or weren't, transparent in our government. We're getting closer to China every day. Maybe that's because the continental plates are shifting. I'm not quite sure. But ultimately, last time I checked, we're supposedly a democracy over here. And I'll share with you some of Malcolm's slides on what real democracies are actually left in the world, because there's a far fewer than what you'd actually think.
Well, Andy, you've got a special guest next week.
Oh, I do. Should we tell everyone who that is? No.
I reckon everyone's got to show up, because there's something special going on next week. You got to show up to find out, folks. So there you go. We'll leave you with a bit of a cliffhanger on that one, I think. But great to have you on the show this week. And Appreciate you joining us as always. Wealth, Wine, and Wisdom. As always, leave a comment in the chat. We always read them afterwards. And if you've got any questions, feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Whack them in the chat. And the following week, we might address it, or have an opinion on it, or ignore it, depending on what's going on. But seriously, folks, appreciate you joining us. Thanks for being here. That's it from us. So it's a big good night from me, I think.
And it's a good night from him, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.
Good night, folks. Take care. Bye for now.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a thing, folks.
We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Debrief the week with Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Every Friday at 5 p.m. Victoria and New South Wales time. We know that Queensland, South Australia, WA have different time zones, as does Darwin, but we're sure that you can do the calculations depending on whether it's daylight savings or not.
You can also catch up on all the episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you check out the Positive Mentor podcast from our 6-star team at positivementor.com.au.